What is going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 235 of Littleroot Lessons. I'm Ro, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, a return guest, producer Carl, who is also sitting in the host chair. It's been about a year since Carl's been doing this full time, and you might be seeing a little more of him now.
Yep. I'm say baby is old enough now that I don't have to be around 24/7, so I might get to do this a little bit more often. As long as Carter and Jay don't run me off first.
Yeah, well, I mean, this week, Jay is currently in the process of doing some adult stuff. He's moving today, so shout out Jay, super proud of him. And Carter has some other adult stuff. Usually, when I'm not on the pod, this is the part of the podcast where they trash talk me. But here I am, the better host, the better man, giving them their accolades and flowers.
I mean, you could also trash talk them back. This is fine.
Not yet. I haven't been doing good enough in House Cup to trash talk anyone. I have been trash.
I'm about to say I'm 2-0 in House Cup.
I am 0-2. I did better week 2, but that game 3 against Chris.
It was rough.
Oh, rough is.
I got to watch it all. It was rough.
Yeah, no, he texted me after. He's like, Angela, what was that? I'm like, I don't know. And then Tim T Camp on my team texted me. He's like, did you switch places with someone for game 3? And I'm like, no, I was so in my head because I was doing great into that exact matchup on ladder the day before, and then I was doing just a warm-up match, and I just lost to the hyper offense Typhlosion team twice, and especially his version with the cocaine bear. I can say that. Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. That immediately just blows up my Farigiraf, so I never can get Trick Room up against him, and that was my plan. It's Terra Water Farigiraf, get Trick Room up, Tyranitar, and Blood Moon just win.
There we go.
And couldn't do that, and I really didn't have much of a plan. Hindsight's always 2020. I have a great matchup. Adam Santakos just called me out immediately in the manager's chat and says, we're playing. Angela doesn't get a say. We're playing. And I'm like,
I don't know who I'm playing yet.
Honestly,
I posted every time in my chat. It's like, if somebody wants me, cool. If not, you can just give me whoever. I don't really care.
Yeah,
I figured Jay would have asked for me this week, but
Jay's been so busy. Well, Jay didn't ask for me either. But yeah, he's been very, very busy between also got a promotion at work. So yeah, Jay is currently sky high right now. Very proud of him.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of teams, happy first day of Reg H officially. Feels like we've been playing this for so long.
I can't count. I could probably count on one hand the number of tweets I saw of number 1 on ranked ladder, because it was 6 or 7 of them right in a row though, of everybody hitting it.
Everyone wants to play this format. They yesterday, one of our locals in Connecticut, about 10 people showed up, and everyone, because yesterday was still the last day of Regulation G, everyone at this local just sat down and gentlemen, okay, we're all playing Reg H, right?
They just brought Reg H teams, that's all you gotta do.
It's Reg G still, there's no rules being broken.
It's just whatever. It's just oh, I didn't bring a restricted. You didn't bring a restricted. There's no rule saying we have to have a restricted.
Yeah.
So it's just, you can just gentlemen's and play Reg H and it's fine.
So yeah, the entire, I mean, again, it was only 9 or 10 people, but everyone there, people want to play this format, and there's a lot of really great teams, and that's what we're going to be diving into today. 2 weeks out from Baltimore, you're probably freaking out saying, what's the meta going to be? It's wide open. We don't know. We are here to tell you what's been good today. Might not be good in 2 weeks, but at least today, this is what you should be expecting in terms of the types of teams.
Yeah. I can say very confidently that I have played every single one of these teams, because these are literally all my teams off of Showdown. I went through and worked on most of the EVs. I went through and did most of the calcs for all these. So take it with a grain of salt, but I'll make sure I have all linked. The only 2 I didn't work on were 3. It's the ones that you sent me for MausApe that doesn't have EVs. The Marcofiero's team.
Yep.
And then the Sand team. The Sand team is
I have a lot to say about
somebody's ladder team that did really well. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's probably on VGC Pace somewhere because that's where I got it from. You can probably look for it there. But we're going to start with the most popular team, Archaludon Rain. Like everyone who's not been playing Reg H still knows what this team is because Archaludon has become one of the most popular Pokemon to play in this format because it's just so powerful and strong and has great coverage. And
yeah,
I think there's like 2 or 3 different Twitter threads of people talking about how to beat Archaludon Rain right now.
Yeah, no, Archaludon's been absolutely unbelievable. Part of it is because of the base stats. In the grand scheme of things, it is the best Pokemon. It's out of all of the highly used Pokemon that are being played right now, it has the highest base stats. It's 600 BST Mon in a format that, outside of pseudo legendaries, slacking, and Palafin Hero Mode, doesn't have.
You can't call them pseudo legends anymore. They got a different name.
What are they called now?
Oh gosh, they changed the name for them. Give me a second. I can find it. You keep talking.
Yeah, so
Powerhouse. They're called Powerhouse Pokemon now.
Powerhouse Pokemon, yeah. So Archaludon, while not a powerhouse Pokemon, it does have the same exact 600 base stat total, a multitude of amazing abilities. Stamina makes you pretty much, it punishes you for attacking the Archaludon because it's going to power up the body press. It also has Stalwart, which ignores Follow Me and Rage Powder, which is always really great. That was Duraludon's calling card in Series 1, 2, and 3 of Sword and Shield. And it also has Sturdy, which has on, I know we have a rain paste up, but Power Herb
there are Sturdy pastes that are actually decent, yeah.
Yeah, Power Herb Sturdy on non-rain has been popping up solely because of how powerful this Pokemon is, where you can use it outside of rain. With that being said,
there's teams that aren't rain just playing Archaludon for the rain matchup.
Yeah.
Like, it's that good.
Yeah, and of course Pelipper as well. The Stellar Terra on Pelipper is amazing. Being able to really pick up some insane KOs on anything weak to flying or water. And
heck, you don't even have to be weak to it on some of them. Like certain ones, there's ones you just pick up just because it's neutral damage and it just
so
goes out of the water.
Stellar Terra is picking up your 252 Specs Goldangos. It's picking up your Blood Moon Ursaludas. Even after Terra, it can't even Terra away from it. So Pokemon, like these huge offensive threats, it's getting rid of immediately. And Basculegion is what people thought Palafin could be. It's this immediate, massive damage threat with Swift Swim. The pace that we have up right here is a Life Orb variant. However, Choice Band has been super popular as well on Rain. And
I've also seen Choice Scarf just to win the speed ties.
Yeah, and I've even seen Choice Scarf Basculegion off of Rain teams with the adaptability ability, getting even more damage out of your stabs with Last Respects and Aqua Jet. Of course, with the Life Orb variant, we're using Liquidation. But on your choice sets,
can't afford to take that Wave Crash recoil and Life Orb. It's just way too much.
Yep, and on your choice sets, you're also seeing Flip Turn as a pivot option. The other 3 Pokemon, Amoonguss and Incin, complete the Fire, Water, Grass. These are 2 amazing Pokemon. We know what they do. Amoonguss offering Redirection, Pace of Play with Spore, and also being able to heal up your Archaludon and Basculegion and your King Gambit.
Yeah.
And Incin, it does instant things. Fake Out.
Foreshadowing, this is the only Incin in the entire list. Just FYI.
it is. And it's... let's talk about Incin now. We're in this weird situation. A lot of the top teams, a lot of teams that are winning, are not using Incin. It's an unbelievable Pokemon. It has amazing matchups. It's Incineroar.
There's better fire types right now for where the meta's at. That's the kicker.
Yeah.
I would say right now probably the most popular fire types are Typhlosion, Hisui, which it's the Sun team. It's doing eruption things. Cool. There's Volcarona, which has a better lineup into a lot of the special attackers in the format. You being able to also have potential redirection, not having to worry about like landing a Will-O-Wisp that instant would hit. You can just redirect the physical attacks into the Volcarona usually. if that's the kind of plan you're wanting to play. And then also Torkoal. Torkoal on the Trick Room teams has just been really, really popular as like the special Slowmon. AV's been the most popular set here recently, just being able to spam eruptions or heat waves or whatever. I think a big thing is also it's like Clear Smog. It's a Clear Smog user. It's like a hidden one that most people don't see.
Yeah.
But
being
poor
Clear
Incineroar.
Yeah,
Poor
being
Incineroar.
Clear. I think so. At the beginning of Regulation F, Carl and I talked. I brought this up to you this morning. At the beginning of Regulation F, no one was using Incineroar, and you had everyone just like dancing on its grave, saying, "Oh, it's
Incineroar's bad." Yeah.
And then it kind of
people figured out its niche, and it's like, oh, yeah, this Pokemon's really good. What we were talking about.
And it's the gift you sent, the how many times you have to teach you this old man. That's gonna be Incineroar post, maybe not like, post Baltimore, but definitely post Knoxville. Someone's just going to win it. Incineroar's going to be Louisville.
Yeah, that
and one. The Midwest. Post Louisville. Yeah, it's going to be won by Incineroar. Everyone's going to be like, wow, why did we not see this? How dumb are we?
Why did we not expect this Pokemon that's done really well in the past to do really well this time? It just needs to find its niche again. Everyone's still playing the Parting Shot knockoff, Fake Out, Will-O-Wisp goggles sets. I think it's going to probably take at least past Baltimore for the meta to settle down a little bit to where you can start to do calcs like, okay, so AV Incineroar lives this with this bulk, and we don't have to worry about this anymore. We can play a little bit more aggressive with our Incineroar and our pivoting and whatnot, and we'll get back to an Incineroar meta eventually. But right now, with just how kind of wide open everything is, Incineroar has a much harder time landing its Intimidates, landing its Parting Shots, making sure its Fake Out is usable, because everyone's playing Covert Cloak and Haze and things, and PsySpam. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And so it's much harder for Incineroar to carve out a niche when everybody is planning around Incineroar still.
Yeah. Also, with the rise of King Gambit and, of course, Annihilate still being the presence of the format, there is a lot of Defiant in the metagame.
Anti-Intimidate is very popular right now. Just like, there's a handful of other Intimidate users. We'll talk about some of them in a little bit, but a lot of it is just like, well, they've got Annihilate, or they've got King Gambit, or this Pokemon's Clear Amulet, or this Pokemon's Inner Focus. My Intimidates don't mean anything. I can't Parting Shot safely into that slot because it has Clear Amulet or it has Defiant, so I'm just kind of stuck. Yeah. It's just tough being Incineroar.
Yeah, looking at the Rain team here, the only Pokemon that really cares about the Intimidate is the Basculegion, which I wouldn't be shocked that, especially if it's in the Rain, even at the -1, you're deleting Incineroar from existence.
You should be.
You should, but you can look at while I vamp, and also like the Pelipper's take you out. Archaludon literally does not care about you because its physical attack is based off its defense stat, which if you do Fake Out into the Archaludon, you're going to boost up the defense to make Body Press a lot stronger. I know you mentioned Assault Vest Incineroar, and one of the issues why I think Assault Vest isn't going to be as popular, or at least it's tough to put on Incineroar right now, is because Archaludon really likes the Assault Vest. We'll get into it later with Rillaboom, which has honestly been the best Pokemon in the format, in my opinion, or at least like the most splashable. Rillaboom also really likes having its Assault Vest as well. So with all of these other Mons and these compositions really want an Assault Vest, Incineroar will take the backseat because it can do non-Assault Vest things.
So even if you're in the Rain, the Life Orb set pretty much guarantees can pretty much guarantees an Oko. I think it's like a point. Yeah, it's a 87.5% chance to Oko. There's literally 2 rolls that do not Oko max HP Ensign.
Yeah, so any tournament you're going to, you have, especially the top 3 of Peli, Basque, Arch, you need a line into this team. You have to have an answer. If you don't, you're going to have a really bad time in Baltimore.
there's plenty of threads like on X. I've ran into a couple. There's for just talking about how to beat Archrain and Archaludon specifically. The big things is just like, as long as you're making Archaludon to where it can't safely click Electroshock all the time, you're probably better off most of the time. The Pelipers, they're not super bulky. They're usually carrying Sash, so if you could threaten Fake Out plus priority, pick up on that. That's usually before it can move. Amoonguss is just like playing around like you normally do. Things like Golden Go are pretty good into it. Archaludon's big enemy is actually like the Dozo teams. The reason Dozo is so popular right now is because it gets to sit there and eat most of these rain teams because it doesn't care.
Yeah. Honestly, the rain's making its own wave crash even stronger, and with that,
like you can Terra in front of it to Terra Grass, and you're just the wave crash still does an average like 40% into you as a resisted hit, and so it's just like and then it doesn't care about your stamina boosts.
Yeah. Do you want to throw
that transitions to the next
to the Dondozo? This is fun. Actually, I need to look. I believe. Give me a second. Milwaukee 2023. I want to say that this is either the exact 6 or 5 of the 6 Pokemon. Wait, I have it. No, it's not. This is 5 out of the 6 Pokemon that Rushiel Conkeldonk used in his top 8 finish at Milwaukee in 2023. This is a Regulation A team.
Yeah, this is about regulation. This is like as much Regulation A as it is Regulation H. You don't really need any of the fancy stuff for Dozo. Dozo does its job on its own. This is actually the team I played in the House Cup Week 1. This is literally the pace I played.
This is a really, really cool team because your non-Dozo mode is a super, super strong hyper offense mode. The core that isn't Dozo is actually really, really good because with how popular Haze is, you can pretty much never bring Dozo into the Haze matchup safely. You can get away with it sometimes if your opponent has to bring like some other Mons that don't die to whatever your hyper offensive lead is, whether that's Talonflame Golden Go or Talonflame Dragonite. But in the matchups where you have like Haze or a real good clear smog threat, you literally just bring Talonflame Dragonite Golden Go Palmot, and whenever your hyper offensive threat goes down of Golden Go or Dragonite, you just bring Palmot out, bring it back at 50%, and just keep trucking through people. Yeah, Tailwind plus Specs Goldango, especially with the Terra Steel, those Make It Rains can really just blow up practically any Pokemon that you're up against. Yeah. I know, like the 252 Make It Rains. I think you might need to be Terra Steel. I'm not sure, but I believe it's like the 252 Specs Make It Rains Oko Mousehold, or at least the more common Mousehold sets. Thunderbolt, of course, is amazing coverage. The Power Gem slot could be trick on a few of these teams, and we've also seen Steel Beam as well. The Steel Beam being able to just be a nuke button. Sure, you'll lose half your HP, but if you're able to immediately remove a massive threat from your opponent that you would miss otherwise with Make It Rain, it's definitely worth it.
There's some calc for the Power Gem. I have it somewhere saved. I don't remember what it was, but there was a calc I have for specifically Power Gem, and that's why it's on this set. It did something. I don't remember what.
Yeah. One of the things to note with Dragonite, you have Outrage as a dragon coverage move, and Dragon Outrage is a move that we are seeing a lot more of, not only on Dragonite but on Dragapult as well.
So Dragapult's the one that gets to abuse it more than Dragonite does. It's just the best with the lack of good fairies that are not like weak to Rillaboom.
Yeah.
So you get to force that Terra Grass or Terra whatever off of that fairy type a little bit easier. So Outrage is a little bit more safer in this regulation. That'll probably change as we start to see some more dragons become more popular. I think like Excalibur, Garchomp maybe. But for right now, Outrage is probably the best dragon stab you can play. Dragapult having Dragon Darts obviously is actually the best move, but we all can't do that. So
nope. And yeah, Palmot's also a very annoying Pokemon to go against.
Oh yeah, it's super annoying.
You get through. So I was up against a Dozo team. This was the Men's Health Tour a couple weeks ago, and I was playing against a Dozo team. It was like game 2 of our set. I get through everything. It's just like the Palmot left with the Tatsu. I'm like, okay, I can handle this. And then I'm like, like the cobwebs from the last time I saw Palmot just started like going, and those gears started turning. Like, wait a second, I gotta do Dozo round. It's like
you gotta go Dozo round 2 usually.
Yeah,
if you see Palmot and you can't answer it, it's Dozo round 2.
Yeah, the Elden Ring's like second like boss wave and
boss phase 2.
Yeah, the phase 2 got me. And then game 3, the second I did not let that Palmot switch in like safely. I made sure like I had fake out online to make like you're not getting this off. So help me God.
So you got to be careful with that one because the Palmots are usually max speed and it's the faster fake out. So if you try to fake out and they just go first and all you did was break the sash, you got to hope you're faster again after that.
Yeah, that's why Rillaboom is
you got to watch. Yeah,
that's why Rillaboom is Grassy Glide.
But overall, being able to just like also just nuke any flying types, that could be a problem. Double Shock's a huge damage nuke. It also helps in the Dozo mirror. Not all Dozo teams are playing Palmot. Sometimes that slot is Glamora. And so when you have that extra revival blessing, and you can also double shock and force a lot of damage onto the opposing Dozo, it kind of just helps out.
Yeah, no, it's and double shock in general, it's also just great into all of the water types in this format. There are so many. Again, opposing Dozos, being able to have a 1 attack nuke against a Pokemon like Primarina, which is usually insanely bulky. It's just insanely useful to have.
I think double shock without the Terra O goes Primarina most of the time. I can double check that.
Yeah. Another thing I do like about this paste as well is the Terra Flying on Dragonite. That's not something that has been explored, at least on a lot of the Dragonites that we've seen. A lot of them on these teams have been still leaning more of the Terra Normal choice spam with the E-Speed spam. What's really nice about Terra Blast is Flying Stab in general is just really good into this format right now, and not a lot of Pokemon get natural Flying Stab. They are very Terra reliant to get it, but on a team like this, especially if you're going the no Dozo mode, being able to Terra into Terra Flying and just spam Terra Blast into the opposing Rillabooms, into some of these Terra Grass Pokemon that you might see, that's going to be it's just a massive benefit.
So you usually will see the Terra Flying on the Assault Vest variants because they can afford to get away with it. The Choice Band variants are always just Terra Normal E-Speed. You just run them down, because you want to be able to just deal as much damage as possible before your opponent can do anything. And that's usually how those choice band sets work. It's just like, I'm going to click extreme speed, whether it's good, bad, or ugly most of the time.
Yeah. Now, most people will call Dozo a gimmick team, and while I do think that there is a lot of skill into, like, good Dozo players are phenomenal at piloting the team. Let's go from one gimmick team to another gimmick team. The next thing that we have
PsySpam
is PsySpam.
So this one in particular has the Hisuian Zoroark attached to it. This one was made popular by, I can't remember who.
I think I can give me a second.
You'll probably find it before I can think or remember the name. But essentially, it's just like, you have all these moving parts to worry about because it's PsySpam, it's Armarouge and Didi. What are they going to do on turn 1? Blah, 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 blah. Well, you also have Hisuian Zoroark now to add to that measure of, is this actually Armarouge? Is it actually a Zoroark? Is the Indeedee actually an Indeedee? Like,
so we will know. We will know if it's an Indeedee because the
terrain.
Yes, the terrain.
And this one of the things they've started doing is they actually don't have psychic terrain. They just run own tempo. And so if you don't run your Intimidator out to find own tempo, it's harder to tell if it's the Zoroark or not.
Yeah, so this team was initially made popular by Len VGC, who won they won a Himi tour. I want to say it was like last week, and yeah, it's a bunch of psychic and normal types, and
I
like
like
there
Ursaluna.
yeah, there is
a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of type overlap. You have 3 normal types, you have 3 psychic types, but
let's be honest here. There's technically 2 normal types, and then the Zoroark isn't actually a normal type.
Yeah, well,
it's not.
It's a normal type that's immune to normal type attacks.
It's a normal type
and
that's immune to everything that a normal type would be immune to, and everything that it would be weak to.
Yeah. I think the coolest mod on this team, or at least one of the trends that I've really enjoyed seeing in Regulation H, is Gallade. Of course, we did see Gallade on teams like Chef used it in his Top Cut run in Florida, the PsySpam Gallade, and Gallade, of course, has been popping up every now and again. It's just a really cool Pokemon. It's always...
It's a lot of damage from that sharpness.
Yeah. You're able to pick up a ton of KOs, especially using a move like Psycho Cut boosted by terrain. And the sharpness, it's just a ton of multipliers on top of multipliers. Yeah. And one of the biggest issues... especially with early PsySpam regs A through C, the main issues were it didn't have a really strong, of course, like outside of using Armarouge or Hat, your setter really wasn't doing a lot once Trick Room was set, and you didn't have as much physical offense as well. Gallade is that physical setter that is able to get into Trick Room and then immediately start putting out pressure. With the Clear Amulet, your Sacred Sword, you aren't afraid of Incineroar, which is usually a great Pokemon to bring into PsySpam with its Dark typing, and it's Fire Resist as well. Now, if you're bringing in that Gallade saying, cool, so we're playing 4v3 now.
Yeah, I was about to say, most of the time, if Gallade has come to the battle, there's something that Gallade can OHKO pretty easily with either Psycho Cut or Sacred Sword. Sacred Sword actually is really important for the Archaladon matchup, because you usually can't get through Archaladon with Rain up very easily with this team. Obviously, like, Electroshot's pretty decent into a lot of your team outside of the Ursaluna. You don't really have a good resist into that, so you kind of just get to eat it. But once you get Trick Room up, or if the Trick Room, if they somehow have spec'd their Archaladon to be slower than most of your Pokemon, because that is a thing, you could probably get off a Sacred Sword. I don't know the calc off the top of my head, but I know it does a lot.
Yeah, so in general, with the Arch, using just the generic 252-4 from Nerd of Now. Let me pull up the Gallade. Yeah, so Sacred against the 252-4 Archaladon, 252 Adamant or Brave, whichever you want to run. Gallade is a 100% KO. Of course, if they Terra out of it, but then you're forcing the Terra. And if you're forcing that Terra, then you're getting a lot of you're getting value elsewhere.
That it's still, like, if it's not a resist to fighting, it's still 60% of their HP usually. Like, that's still a lot.
So depending on the Terra, so if they're like Terra Grass, it's a 2-hit KO. And what's amazing with Sacred Sword is that it ignores the defense boost that Stamina give it. So it's always threatening the Archaladon, while a move like Psycho Cut isn't, especially after the first 1 or 2 hits. You're saying, okay, I'm hoping that this move
you just gotta fish for a crit. Yeah, at that point you're fishing for a crit. Sacred Sword's just better damage.
Yep. Moving from one Sun, or at least one Trick Room team, to another, this is the classic Trick Room PsySpam, but now we also have our Sun Room. This is the premier Sun, well, I wouldn't say this is like the dedicated Sun team.
Yeah, this is the dedicated Sun team.
Yeah.
You usually have like either Whimsicott or Murkrow plus Torkoal plus Trick Room plus like your Typhlosion Sun Abusers, things of that nature. The Ursaluna is kind of just whatever you really want it to be. Usually you want this to be like a physical attacker. Ursaluna just kind of does the best job here. But yeah, it's this is, again, just like the Trick Room PsySpam. It's just like, okay, is Trick Room gonna go up, or like Do I have to worry about Lilligant Torkoal on the lead? Do I have to worry about Indeedee Lilligant or Indeedee Typhlosion or Typhlosion Whimsicott? Like, there's the leads for this team make this team hard to predict. There's just a lot of combinations of, hey, this spawn plus this spawn gives you this situation, or this spawn plus this spawn gives you a different situation. It's not as popular and probably not as good as the hyper offense Typhlosion teams. No. Just in general, because it's a little bit more spread out in what it's trying to do, whereas the hyper Typhlosion teams get to do like Typhlosion on the gas, and then I've got some good balance core to back it up. Whereas this is like, if I don't bring 2 of these Pokemon, my team kind of just falls apart.
Yeah, this in general, like this team, it is a bit like 2-2-2-ish. Your Whims, Typhlosion, Hyper Offense, like the Torkoal, Lilligant, Sun, and then the Indeedee Ursaluna Trick Room mode. So you do, if you approach it in that sense, you can definitely, like, if you have experience with like the 2-2-2 Dozo, and you just have the idea of understanding which pairs go well into which matchups, you could probably pilot this team pretty well. A lot of the teams that we've talked about in general, again, they are called gimmick teams. I don't like the term gimmick in general. Like,
it depends on what you define as a gimmick, right?
Yeah. That, and it's like, I'll say this, people have, I was just saying, Chef went, and I believe it was definitely a top 8, if not a top 4 at Orlando. We saw a very hard Trick Room team cut Worlds. We've seen Dozo do insanely well. It's one event. Good players on these the players who are good at playing these teams are insanely dangerous and are always a threat. But these are also players where, like, that testing group, Adrian Hurley, Chef, Brian Collins, also known as Angelo Hunter, these are people who have collectively probably thousands of hours piloting these teams and know every single line they know your line before you even know your line.
Yeah, and it's like they've played enough of these matchups. They know what you're expected to do before you even know what you're doing.
Yeah,
and they have already planned around it usually in that situation.
Yeah, but with that being said, I'm not going to say average, but like the person who's just picked up Dozo for the first time doesn't have as many games with it. And if you are planning on using Dozo or using PsySpam at a tournament like Baltimore, at this point, I mean, you're 2 weeks out, just lock in and get as many reps as possible. It's at a point where if you're deciding to use any of the 3 teams that we've just shown last, your reps matter more than trying to tweak or call the meta. You just need to know the matchup better than your opponents and player diff them.
Yeah, that's usually how these one trick teams go, where they have a thing and they want to do their thing. If you know how to perform your whatever you're doing, whether it's abusing rain, abusing sun, abusing trick room, abusing the fact that Dozo gets +2/+2 pretty much in every stat. If you know how to approach those matchups correctly, you'll probably do better than trying to figure out, oh, if they lead this, I have to have this. If you just know that when you see Haze on with the Dozo team, you can't bring Dozo, or you might be able to bait them into bringing their Haze Mon, and you get to knock it out early because you lead with Dozo and force a switch or something like that. There's little things like that for at least these first 4 teams, where you can pick up tips and tricks and get a little bit of game knowledge on how to manipulate your opponent's game actions into you getting into a very favorable position.
Yeah. For the next one, we're going from because I mean, as rain, I wouldn't say rain is linear, but it's also it can be a little linear. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is not linear whatsoever. It is our first real
this is the first Good Stuffs team.
Yeah,
this is Good Stuffs.
This is the first Good Stuffs balance, and yet again, no Incineroar.
Yeah, Volcarona is really, really good. Just FYI. So is this everyone's been playing like the King Gambit Ghost combos on everything, and it's fine. Usually it's Dragapult next to King Gambit. I don't know why they picked that. This one was Gengar. for some reason. You can also play Golden Go or Glamora in that slot. You kind of just whatever fits your fancy. I personally really like Golden Go on these teams. It's just a real good nuke button next to Clefable. But yeah, this is the first where it's just like your skill as a player is more important than what the team actually is like doing. This is a lot of making correct reads, knowing how to pivot, having that defensive core to kind of manipulate your opponent, recognizing your outs in terms of this Pokemon is really, really good in this matchup. And so I need to work my way into getting into a good position with this Pokemon. Yeah. This is the team I've spent a little bit of time on this week because I thought about playing it for the next week at House Cup. I've run into people encoring my Volcarona like 3 times, and I'm now +6 on speed, special attack, and special defense, and then they look at it and go, "Oh, I can't KO this thing. What did I do?"
Yeah, so I think part of it is the number of tools. You have your Intimidate, you have your Redirection, Speed Control with the Thunder Wave on Clefable is a new aspect of the team. You have your super fast Haze with Gengar, Fake Out with Rillaboom, Terrain Control, Priority with Sucker Punch, Aqua Jet, and Grassy Glide. This is a team that has whatever tool you need. It has the 2 setup Mons with the setup Kingambit and setup Volcarona. If you let them get that turn or 2 of setup, they can just run through teams and just be absolute menaces. The Volcarona's particular, if you are having an issue with rain in general, maybe not the Terra Dragon and Terra Grass Volcaronas are unbelievable into rain. If you're able, for this team, your rain matchup, your priority is just taking out the Pelipper. Once the Pelipper's down, Volcarona, with a good defensive Terra, usually the Terra Grass, after a Quiver Dance or 2, there's not much these rain teams can do into the Volcarona.
The Volcarona's goal is essentially to make sure you resist Electro Shot and resist whatever water type attack is going to come your way. So that's why Grass and Dragon are more popular Terra types for that. Rillaboom and Kingambit are really important for you, like making sure you get to take out the Pelipper at a timely manner. Fun fact: most Pelippers will not live Woodhammer unless they're Sash. Yeah. Even like Woodhammer will do a significant chunk if grassy terrain is still up.
And even the Grassy Glides, like you can
Grassy Glides 2-hit KO for sure.
You can easily sucker Grassy Glide and just pick up. One of the other things I have noticed some people doing is running their Rillabooms to outspeed the modest Pelipper. Mm-hmm. That way, it's at least a game 1 speed check. You can pretty much use your Rillaboom to figure out what nature their Pelipper is.
Yeah, because like you said earlier with the modest Pelipper with Stellar, it does a lot of damage. If they are timid, it's not doing as much, and you can use that to your advantage a little bit later on.
Yeah, and of course, Carl already mentioned a few of the swaps that we've seen. We saw Lorcy win a grassroots tournament recently using Glamora in the Gengar spot. And you're losing your Haze, you're losing your another fighting resistant immune, and you are gaining in general just a better offensive Pokemon.
I was about to say the Glamora swap doesn't feel as bad. Haze is cool, but you also just have the Clefable. Clefable's unaware. It doesn't care about the Dozo. It doesn't care about the stat boosting whatever next to you. It's not so like the Clefable's really cool in this slot. Normally people are like, well, why aren't you using Clefairy? It's because of the unaware. The unaware is more important. So that's why I feel like that Gengar is just so easily swapped right now.
Yeah. The other different swaps you can do. I've also seen Basculegion over the Tauros.
That's another one that's been kind of whichever one you want it to be.
Yep. Dragapult as another physical attacker over the Gengar as well. Again, a lot of it is swapping out different ghost types.
I've seen Gyarados in the freaking Tauros slot just because it's a secondary speed control with a secondary Thunder Wave. Like it's just that good.
In general, this top 4. So looking,
you want the top 4, And then the last two can be water type, physical, other damage type. That's not repeating one of the top four.
Yeah, looking at the Tim's top teams composition on Lab Mouse, by his scoring over the last 2 weeks, the top four of Clefable, Volk, Rilla, and Kingambit are the number one scoring quartet with a 70.96% winning percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And if you do sort by winning percentage, the only other top tier teams doing better are like other 4 mom permutations of this 6.
Yeah.
So if you are a balanced like using it, I'm not sure if these players are going, but like don't be shocked if Paul Chua is showing up to Baltimore with this 6.
Yeah, I would not be surprised.
Yeah, and just saying, well, I'm one of the best balanced players on the planet. Good luck, have fun, everyone.
I'm about to say, like, I'm going to outmaneuver you. Good luck. Yeah, that's usually how these teams go.
Yep.
Kind of sticking with the good stuff style. The next one, the snow team. This kind of is in the similar vein of you have your good defensive pivot core. You just happen to have screen setters that rely on snow, and then the kind of just like defensive of taking advantage of the defense boost with snow. You could probably play whatever you want to play in these top 2 slots with this 4 and just go nuts.
Yeah, I think this is just another example of good mons are good. Alola Ninetales is a very interesting Pokemon because of your ability to act, well, as a faster weather setter, as a weather setter in general. You can force out your opponent to bring out their Pelipper when they don't want to.
I cannot tell you how many times I've gotten my opponent. They bring in their Pelipper to Electro Shot, and I've just happened to be faster with my Rillaboom, and I clicked U-turn, and then I get to bring in Alola Ninetales, and then now they don't have Ring.
Yeah, or even just calling the slot the Pelipper is going to go into, and you didn't go and set Aura Veil. You went and clicked Woodhammer, and like Moonblast into that slot, and all of a sudden the rain mode's gone, clearing the Volcarona to just come in and win again.
Yeah.
While this is a weather team, it's really
less dependent than the other weather teams.
Yeah. Really, it's like I think Alola Ninetales in general it's been on and off. We saw another weather team that was Alola Ninetales team popping up. Let me see if I can get that.
I don't remember which one it was. I've seen it.
So it was. It's not. It hasn't been popping up recently. I think if I go back to the last week. Yeah, so it was Alola Ninetales, Incinemoongus, Goldengo, Blood Moon, and Basculegion. It was a popular team. Again, like
you're just using Alola Ninetales, kind of like what this one is doing. It's just to set up Aurora Veil with snow.
Yeah, you care more about the weather than you care, and like the weather as a way to offset other weathers and screens. The Baxcalibur, while it does get an amazing defense boost from the snow, and of course it loves having the screens as well, Baxcalibur is just such an unbelievably powerful Pokemon that you can that could be a Grimmsnarl instead of an Alola Ninetales, and this 6 works just as well.
Yeah, like if you don't want to worry about having to worry about the weather, you can put Grimmsnarl in this slot, and you work out just fine. The being able to take away the rain, take away the sun, take away whatever is nice with that Alola Ninetales, and that's kind of why it sees a little bit more play, I think, right now. But a lot of the time, it's just, cool. I got a Roar Veil off. I clicked Blizzard twice. Maybe got a Freeze. Neat. That's about all you're really doing with it.
Yeah. Some of the other things that we have seen with the Alola Ninetales is not running Blizzard at all, actually just going for Freeze Dry, Encore. The support kit on this Pokemon
the super
is
support
so
versions are interesting,
Yeah. And like I think in the this team is amazing, but I think in the grand scheme of things, we might end up seeing if Ninetales does take a further step in the format, I could see that super support.
The super support is probably going to be better just because Encore is going to be stronger.
Yep. And
even the threat of Encore on non-prankster mons, like, oh, you just happen to protect in front of me and you're slower than me. Enjoy being locked into protect for however long. Like, it's just how the game works right now.
This format is also so slow, and all the speed stats are all bunched together that being a base 109 Pokemon is actually insanely
Oh yeah, it's
fast.
so important. Like hitting max speed with the Ninetales is like the only thing you care about. The rest of the stats is just whatever. Whatever bulk you want to live for whatever hit, but make sure you're getting 252 timid. Like that's all you need to care about.
Yeah, so what do we have as our next team?
This one is where we started to get into teams I have not played yet. This one is the Sand team. I stole this off of VGC Pace because this was the highest placing Sand team that I saw that was actually interesting. Notably, the big things with this are using things like Extra Drill or Lycanroc in this slot over here as a very strong, hard-hitting abuser of sand. Notably, both Extra Drill and Lycanroc can get really, really fast.
Yeah, I was just saying, I just sent you a more, again, no EVs, but a more modern look at sand, or at least what has been popular more recently from Lab Mouse. This is from the team I sent you was from Sky Pillar. So if you also want to look at that,
we'll get to that one once we.
Okay.
Because the cool part about this one in particular is the Sinistra is as the grass type for sand.
Yeah.
Because this is where it gets really, really neat. Amoonguss isn't great because you don't really want it to be sitting there taking a bunch of sand chip and whatnot. You don't really care about Sinistra because Sinistra has self-recovery in its kit. Whether that's Life Dew, Strength Sap, Matcha Gotcha, whatever. It also doubles as like a pool Trick Room setter next to Sand. So I think if you're playing Sand, Tyranitar Sinistra is just like a really good combo. From there, it's kind of whatever water type, whatever Sand abuser you like. You have Garchomp on this one, which Garchomp's whatever.
So I'm gonna say this. I've said this in our server. I've said this on Dad's server. I think Tyranitar is really, really strong, and this is a more modern version. This was a first place team from Sky Pillar, where again it's a strong sand team with Garchomp as the abuser. In my honest opinion, I think Tyranitar is an unbelievable point in the meta. When you look at a lot of the teams that we've looked at, having Rock type stab is amazing. It's a weather disruptor that really hurts all these teams that like having their weather. Into PsySpam, they can't do anything into you. Whether you're clicking knock off or rock slide,
look at you funny.
Yeah. So I think Tyranitar is an unbelievable Pokemon for this meta. At this point right now, I think it is a great anti-meta call. I think dedicated sand teams just aren't good. I'm about to say
Tyranitar is good as like anti-weather and it happens to enable Lycanroc or Excadrill, and that's all you care about.
Yeah.
For the
but
sand.
Like even like for so like I feel like throwing Garchomp, at least right now with Garchomp, Rillaboom being in the format's pretty much nerfing Earthquake makes it a lot worse.
It's not even the fact that it nerfs Earthquake. You're neutral to Grassy Glide unless you Terra.
Yeah, it's
that's
just
so bad.
It's not good, and you will get like you have to be Clamulate, or you're just or your entire team gets completely Intimidate cycled.
Yeah,
I think the Sand Sweeper, so to speak, is a wasted spot. Use a Pokemon like Blood Moon or Saluna. If you don't Terra it, doesn't get shipped. Goldango doesn't get shipped. Like, throw goggles on something. Use actually good Pokemon.
Excadrill being able to outspeed everything in the format, I think, is like the only like sand abuser that actually deals damage. Lycanroc is just a Endeavor bot. That's all it's there for.
I personally like Lycanroc a little more because I do think you just get a lot more out of the fact that you have the Excel Rock, where if there is dueling weathers, you can still threaten speed real quickly with that priority. And I just like Endeavor is a cool move. I've been working a lot with Tyranitar. I've again on a more balanced, like bulky offense team. Jess sent me the team I use for House Cup, which I didn't do it justice. It was a pilot issue, not a team issue. just offensively, Tyranitar plus Rillaboom is really, really great. They complement each other very well offensively. Tyranitar likes having a fake out Mon next to it. Even some have actually been dropping knockoff and going for assurance.
Just to get the double up bonus damage. Usually I've been seeing like Incineroar also is just like a really good Mon next to Tyranitar. Yes, you have the fighting double up weakness and the ground double up weakness, but like Incineroar is just really good next to T-Tar.
So I think in my overall, like with Sand, I think good players can beat a dedicated Sand team solely because I think that if you're against these other teams, you're playing 6v5. But if you view Tyranitar the way that Michael Zhang viewed Tyranitar when he went and won his regional last year, it wasn't a Sands team. It was, hey, Tyranitar kind of just screws up the entire metagame right now. And that's the point where T-Tar is right now. Like, as the meta progresses, I can see a world where, let's just say it becomes more balance-centric, rain falls off, sun falls off. Being a weather disruptor isn't as useful. But as of right now...
T-Tar's still going to be good.
It's going to be good.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think right now it's in an unbelievable spot to just completely wreck the game plans of some teams.
You remember this team we talked about with the snow where the weather doesn't matter? Just take the Max Caliber, make it whatever, take off the Ninetales, make it a Grimmsnarl. You can put or an Incineroar or whatever you want on that slot. You can just slap T-Tar in there and it's probably
fine. Like so the team I ran for House Cup, it was like Rilla, like Tauros, T-Tar, then you throw in Speaking Shroll. I had Blood Moon over Goldango.
I think Goldango is just so good for that matchup.
It is.
Being a fighting immunity is so important.
Yeah, that's like the change that I've made. But yeah, like having Goldango as your steel type over Excadrill. And
it just depends on what your team's doing. Yep. I think the Goldango's good in the slower balanced style versions. The Sand team that's running like Excadrill, Tyranitar, and whatever, like the one we shared first time. This one running Braviary and Volcarona and all this stuff. This is more I'm going to run you down and try to take you out fast rather than be a kind of more balancey pivot team.
Yeah. Speaking of going fast, I think the next thing that we're going for...
we are very fast.
Did a little nose candy before the match, and...
This is Marco Fiero's team from the VGC Trainer School. This is the one that was like 10th place, I think. It was top 16 for sure.
Yeah, so I can get the results because
this one was great, and because this is what actually partly inspired my team for Starter Showdown for the Inkay games was the Swamp.
Yeah, so he was he finished 10th with this, and yes, Swamp is weirdly good. Shout out to my buddy Ben, who has been playing Swamp for as long as I've known him, at least 3 or 4 years. Marco Fiero just stole his entire flow, word for word, bar for bar.
Just put it up there. Yep. This is where we remember we talked about Archaludon with Sturdy and Power Herb. This is where it's at. It's getting that +1's really good. If you happen to be into rain, you line up really well there. If you don't like the rain, you have Murkrow to set the sun for your Typhlosion. Cool. Murkrow as a prankster mon's really, really good right now, being able to haze and tailwind and change the weather and do all that stuff is really, really good.
Yeah. I think one of the cool things with this is I don't think people, one of the many misses of our first tier list, because we didn't know we were doing this like not even a weekend. I think the format was announced on Wednesday or something, and we were recording on Sunday. We didn't know. Yeah, we're like, Typhlosion sucks. We didn't know that 252 Specs Eruption, whether you Terra or you're in rain, not rain, or in sun, you're pretty much nuking every single Trick Room setter besides Psychic Seed and Deity.
Yeah.
Like, and so
the trade-off is there. It's like the Typhlosion needs all the pieces around it to work. Typhlosion isn't good. It's good because of the pieces around it.
yeah. But
Because
even
let
then
me tell you, as someone who's played a lot of these hyper offense, like these Typhlosion teams, they are very bad if your opponent knows what they're doing.
yeah. And I will say one of the things that does really help with putting out the offense is the Blood Moon Ursaluna. Another variant of this team that we've seen that's not the Swamp starter related is using the Typhlosion and the Ursaluna along with Farigiraf and Whimsicott as a Tail Room team.
Yep.
A lot of the stuff that you aren't threatening in, whether it's in threatening in Tailwind with the Typhlosion, is usually threatened by a Blood Moon from Ursaluna. And then you can also still have them on where even your max speed Modest Ursalunas are maxing out at, like, your Modest Ursalunas are maxing out at 104 speed.
I think it's 104, yeah.
Yeah, it's 104, which is still slow enough to be able to play in like a soft Trick Room mode. And even the Typhlosion, your max speed Typhlosions, your base 100, so yet again, your outs even like base 100 actually means something again in this format.
Until Dragapult comes and ruins our day, base 100 actually means something.
Yeah. So in general, like, this is one of the ways to view the hyper offense. For those of you who don't know how Swamp or the pledges work, so if you do lead the Swamp Meowscarada Primarina mode, the way it works is, so Primarina will, if both of your Mons will click the pledge move on the same turn, it'll say Meowscarada, which is the fastest one, using Grass Pledge. Primarina is also using Water Pledge, and it'll turn, I believe, into like a 180 base power move. That'll be a Grass type stab, single target, based on Meowscarada's special attack stats. So it's not doing a lot of damage. The benefit of it, though, is Pledge is
the Swamp is the speed one.
The
lowers
Swamp,
their speed.
It's a -4.
Yeah, it's huge.
So like Tailwind is.
It's not enough to get him out with just Tailwind.
Yeah, your Tailwind, your Pokemon, it's the equivalent of, if with Tailwind, it's the equivalent of all of your Pokemon being paralyzed.
Yeah.
Without Tailwind, it's like Torkoal's outspeeding you.
Yeah, that's the cool thing.
Not that
it's
far,
not that
but
bad, but it's pretty close.
Yeah. The base 104 Ursaluna all of a sudden becomes one of the fastest things in the field.
Yeah, exactly.
Without the Tailwind.
Yeah. So yeah, the Swamp team is kind of where I got my inspiration for my Inkay Games match, because it's like, oh, I really want to have this. This is really good. And this is like one of the only forms of speed control in this particular part of the format, because outside of Tailwind, on the second UI, this is all we got.
Yeah.
But yeah, these teams are really cool. I do expect Typhlosion to eventually just fall off, because things like Dragapult and Sucker Punch and a lot of these bigger things are starting to come back into the format. And so when you lose all your HP before you get to attack, your Eruption, even if it's Sun boosted, doesn't do anywhere near as much.
Yeah. On to the next team.
What's this one? It's the MausApe team.
Yeah. So MausApe has already kind of fallen off.
Yeah, that's kind of something we noticed as I was pulling these up. I was like, I saw very little MausApe in most of the top finishing teams. Usually it was just like a random Annihilate by itself, if I saw one. Yeah.
I think, like, looking through at least the top teams, and again, like, we haven't really seen it a ton, the top quote-unquote MausApe team has been the MausApe Rain team with Hydreigon and Sinistra that was featured on Cybertron's channel.
Yep.
And a lot of that is that team already was doing well. When you get the Cybertron boost, usually a team that he features
everybody gets to see it. Everybody starts picking it up. Everybody starts playing it. Usually how that works. I think part of the problem with MausApe is the fact that everybody's on Haze.
Yeah.
Like, the whole point of MausApe is like, oh, I get to set up bulk ups willy-nilly, and there's not a whole lot you can do about it. I'm eventually going to get out of range. If they either just click Haze, it's not a big problem anymore.
I also think one of the other things is like these hyper offensive teams, like the team that we just showed. When you look at the Annihilate, which I'm just going to pull up just the generic Annihilate right now. Usually your Annihilapes are running 180 HP, 172 special defense, and of course you have your Friend Guard up. But that Terra Specs Eruption in the sun, because you're going to be slow enough where they can't get the sun up. That Eruption's still like a 2-ish hit KO, and especially it will be a 2-hit KO because once you get rid of the mouse hold,
yeah,
and that's the other thing where like the mouse hold is usually coming very depending on the mouse hold set you're running or your opponent's running. There's a good chance it's dropping. The spread type damage in general just makes it really tough. Whether it is Goldango's Make It Rain, Hyper Voice from
Annihilate does not take spread damage very well.
No,
it likes it because it gets to boost the Rage Fist, but it does not take it very well.
Yeah, and especially if you're losing your partner to a spread move, that means that you can double in. Sure, the Rage Fist will be better, but the Annihilates, they are running a lot of this bulk. If they want to run faster, you're going to have to give up the bulk.
That's when you just play the Choice Scarf Final Gambit and just take them on with you. Did you see the hyper offensive mouse hold with the coaching Choice Scarf Annihilate? Yeah. I ran into that on the ladder like twice, and I'm just like, well, that's really cute. Bye.
So I will say this: I do think that the Scarf Coaching Ape plus the Wide Lens Technician Mousehold, that will be the team that wins the first global challenge.
As long as the opposing teams don't have Rocky Helmet, it'll be fine.
Yeah, as long as there's no Rocky Helmet. But yeah, because that's one of those things where it is in a closed team sheet era.
You get to abuse that. Format. It's the same thing with PsySpam. You get to abuse that. I would not be surprised to see Armarouge, Indeedee, the Choice Scarf Gambit, Annihilate, super offensive mousehold nonsense. I would not be surprised to see that be the team that wins the global challenge in September.
Yep.
Would not be surprised.
Hell, I might even run it. Who can say?
There you go.
I don't know. I don't know when it's going to be. Well,
we don't know what it is yet.
Yeah, for all I know, it's the weekend of my wedding, and well, that's not happening.
It'll probably be the weekend where I go play a local. So,
yeah, honestly, like I can easily see it being either the weekend of the 20th or the 21st or the 28th.
It'll probably be either the 14th or the 20th.
It's not going to be the 14th. Because the 14th is Baltimore. That's
not going to stop them. I can guarantee you that's not going to stop them.
I'm giving them like the teeniest bit of hope. But yeah, I think looking at it probably.
If they're smart, they'll do both on the same weekend. If they're smart, they'll do both. So
they'll get people playing regardless. Yeah, I can see
it. They'll get people who couldn't go to Baltimore. They get to play in the global challenge. And then, or Grand Challenge, or whichever one it is. I don't remember which one it is.
Yeah, because they did change,
there's a difference. Which, shout out the spreadsheet, the tracker calculator thing's updated. It's out there in the Twitterverse. Go find it.
We tweeted it out.
I did a lot of math. But it's out there. Whether it's the global or the grand, you pretty much want to play in all of them. The grand challenges will be easier. Air quotes on easier, because
Japan's not playing.
They're TPCI locked. So unless you're it's like Oceania, NA, EU, South Africa, there's a handful of other regions that are in there, but those regions will be able to play in the grand challenges. Those will be the ones you probably want to focus on if you're going to try to play in any of them.
Especially to max out your BFL, which I believe is 3.
Yeah.
Yep. Do we have any other teams?
I don't think we have any other teams yet.
I think we can.
We covered pretty much all of them.
Yeah, I think if anything, even just not these exact 6 Pokemon, but these are definitely the archetypes you're going to see.
Let me go open Lab Mouse real fast and do some looking.
Yeah, we can take a look.
That's Reg G. I don't want Reg G.
Just go up and filter, toggle to Reg H.
There's Balance, there's Dozo, there's Ape Rain, there's Sunroom, there's Balance, there's Rain.
I think at least seeing like
I don't know what
rains.
this is.
Wow, yeah, no, that's
a Palafin.
That's a Garganachi.
Let's see here. We got a 9-3, a 5-2, an 8-2, an 8-1, and a 7-1. That's not awful.
Let's throw it open.
Let's look at this.
7th place at trainer school.
What is this doing? Oh, so Palafin's just Primarina but physical.
Pretty much. Honestly, this is the first Dragapult team we have up here, so we should probably talk about Dragapult.
Choice Band Dragapult's really good. You should play this Pokemon.
Clicking Banded Helping Hand Outrage into a team that doesn't have any Fairy Pokemon or Fairy Terras. Buddy, the serotonin.
You just eat for days.
Look at me. Look at my eyes. Look at my eyes. The serotonin. Like, you will not feel better vibes in your life until you click that and just see how quickly an HP bar falls.
Oh yeah,
it is
great.
the best feeling.
This technically is triple ghost because we have the Terra Ghost Garganackle.
Yes, it is.
I love Garganackle. It's one of my favorite Pokemon.
Shout out Jay.
Yeah, this Pokemon is great. This is the reason why we played this game. Just the Salt Cure Stall. Love it. Honestly, Garganackle Terra Ghost has actually like a decent matchup into like Goldango and other things like that. Because Goldango then is not hitting you for super effective damage ever.
Yeah. I did promise Jay. I did promise. We gotta
talk about the Greninja.
We can make this the last team that we talk about. I did promise Jay that I was going to talk about Greninja, and it does fit because I don't know how this pod turned into the Chance Hines like team appreciation club, but whenever
it's the choice scarf coaching. Come full circle. We found it.
Yeah, whenever Chance Hines just builds something crazy, I don't know. All of his teams can be summed up as, wow, that's cool, only if you're Chance Hines. In most cases, I think this is probably one of his friendlier teams to use.
This one seems very simple on paper.
Yeah, and I think like if you want to talk about, again, best of one, if you see the Greninja with the MausApe, you should probably figure out, okay, it's probably Scarf. If I had to figure out the speed tiers of these mons, the Greninja's max speed, it's going to be 1 point faster than the Annihilate, who is 1 point faster than the Maushold. Now, this is pretty much your beat-up strategy, but the beat-up mon isn't the Maushold, it is the Greninja with Water Shuriken.
Yeah.
What's nice here is that Water Shuriken is also a priority move, so it's not like you can't chip down the mouse or the beat up mon and then threaten it with a sucker punch or threaten it with a grassy glide. Water Shuriken's also going to boost it, and it's a priority move. You then just go back to basic speed tiers. Greninja is one of the fastest Pokemon. With Haze, it is the only Pokemon that knows it is the only non-prankster Hazemon that can outspeed Jolly Dozo, which is a fun fact that I spent way too long trying to figure out. Shout out Inteleon for being exactly 1 point slower.
Yeah, when I was doing speed calcs for Starter Showdown, it was literally like, oh, why am I using Inteleon? I have Greninja. It's 1 point faster.
Yep.
And then we found Meowscarada, and it's like, oh, well, why are we playing Greninja and Inteleon at all? We just have Meowscarada.
Yeah. But in this case, it's like the Water Shuriken sets up your Rage Fist on the Scarfape. It sets up your stamina boost on your Caledon.
Or you can just do some decent damage into whatever ground types, like whatever's next to you.
Yeah, like the Water Shuriken in Rain, if you're going off 4 or 5 hits, like you're going to be doing a decent bit of damage. It's not a lot, but it's a good. It's enough. And then the rest of it, again, you have your Annihilate Maushold mode. You're going Scarf Coaching into Pop Bomb, which is just absolutely crazy. Coaching cannot get redirected as well, and that is an issue with these beat up strats is that you can be you can lose to a Rage Powder or a Follow Me, which of course the Water Shuriken also has an issue. But then you just pop on the Redirection Mon at +1/+1, and as long as they aren't Rocky Helmet, well, they're dead.
Fun fact: Water Shuriken and Rain does a lot to Incineroar.
I would guess. I'd say the Mon that I would be more curious to see what it does into is the Lefty's Volcarona, which you shouldn't. I mean, you shouldn't, and you want.
The problem with Volcarona is it's naturally really bulky on the special side.
Yeah.
So you don't get.
You don't pick it up. You're still doing 75%.
Yeah, it's just really bulky.
Yeah, which I mean, even 75% is a low roll, and that's what timid.
And that you usually will be able to force the Terra anyway, so you're usually hitting it into Terra Grass, which isn't great. But
still, forcing the Terra is nice. Force the Terra, if
usually the Terra is going to happen regardless against Rain.
Yeah,
because it's a Volcarona.
As long, if you keep that Pelipper safe, then you're going up against a very, very powerful Hurricane.
And that's why I like Terra Dragon. That's why I've been a little bit more keen to Terra Dragon instead of the Terra Grass, because Pelipper's a problem.
Yeah. But yeah, this is also just a really fun, cool team. Unless your name is Chance Hines or Jay McGarity, don't run it. No, that's a lie. You can. This is going
to be your fun best of one team. Like if you're going to play on ladder, this is going to be the ladder team.
Yeah, this is a fun ladder team. Locals, I think you would have a blast playing this at locals.
Oh yeah, you'll get so many people.
Yeah,
they just look at it and just like, what does all these Pokemon do? And,
if you have someone who's illiterate like me who can't read a team sheet to save their lives, and they see your Annihilate go for coaching and the pop-bomb household, you're going to win game one.
Yeah, you're going to win game one usually. Fun fact, the defense boost off on the Mousehold is actually really important.
Yeah, that definitely helps it be able to live a lot more hits.
Just look out for the Rocky Helmet Mons and plan around it, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, if you can read and your opponent can't, GG's, you're cool, you're set.
Yeah. It also helps that you have this King Gambit here to just pick up whatever doesn't get OHKO'd by the Mousehold or the Annihilate or the Archaludon.
Yeah, and that's another thing that is nice with the coaching, is that you can go coaching next to the Gambit. If you don't feel threatened, you can go coaching plus
just be stupid
and
greedy.
Just be throw in your Terra Dark, and all of a sudden, those sucker punches, no one's living that.
No one lives those.
And the coaching's also amazing with the Archaludon as well, because the coaching helps boost your body presses.
Yep. Yeah. It's a really fun team.
Yeah, so I'd say that's the other thing. And then again, for those of you who were able to see, just going through the stuff that Carl was showing, just the generic Lab Mouse teams. First of all, again, you can find all this information. Go to the top teams tab on Lab Mouse, and you can see over the last 2 weeks Tim's scoring of the top teams that you can toggle. You can even search for specific Pokemon if you're looking for specific Pokemon there, and by doing so, you can see these Rain teams. There's different variations. It's not the exact 6 we showed you, but there's still a lot of the parts are relatively the same. Yeah. Same with these balance teams, these Trick Room teams, the Dozo teams. The basis is the same. It's just people are still trying to figure out what are the last 2 or so mons, or maybe the last moves or items or so to really take them to the next level.
And a lot of it also just comes down to player preference. If you like having extra Fake Out, you can play your extra Fake Out Mon. You can play Incineroar into a different slot. Wherever you probably see a Tauros, Paldea, Aqua, you could probably slot that in for Incineroar, and it'll probably be fine.
Yeah, definitely. I will say that I love the Tauros. Tauros Rillaboom has turned into one of my new favorite duos in this metagame. With that being said, running like 236.
The Tauros
adamant,
feels like it lacks damage a lot of the time.
It feels like that no matter what you're trying to do, you are missing about 5% of damage. To the point where
you never get to pick up the KO. Like you put them really close, and then you don't get to pick it up.
I just started running Stellar Terra to just pick up KOs.
I mean, yeah. If you're like the Wave Crash and the close combat variant, that's probably can get away with it. I've been running the Raging Bull set with the Snow team, just being able to break opposing screens and whatnot. It's really cool, but you just don't do enough damage. In general with Tauros.
Yeah, so like again, cool Pokemon, love it. Really fun to use it again. We haven't seen it since Regulation A. And then at the same time, it's like I understand why we haven't seen it.
There's a reason why we don't use this Pokemon.
Yeah. So I know you usually don't do the closings. Do you want to give it a whack or am I?
No,
going
you
to
can do it.
this?
I'm fine. I'm just here for the ride.
Jay, I'm sorry. I'm going to kill your baby.
Nah, it's fine. He'll be fine.
Thank you very much.
I can just steal Jay and just put an outro from Jay from the past in here.
Wait, we can do that?
Oh, heck yeah, I can do that. Insert J edit now.
Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Come join the Discord and talk about Reg H and all the fun stuff that's going on in there. Check out the Twitter at LR Lessons. Make sure you check out the Patreon and Discord links, supporters links as well.
Thanks, Jay.
Thanks, Jay. And with that, we can get out of here.
We can. Goodbye, everyone.